Day to look at the bigger picture as well. How do you fundamentally shift from fighting fires on a daily basis by policing protest to changing the way, as many women have said that they want men to do, from how men view women and their safety? Let's speak to Leon Hady, who's a former head teacher, now works with various governments on education policy. He says we need a new syllabus on gender relations rather than just tougher laws for adults. Hello, Leon.
Hi, good evening.
So we touched on this in the last half hour or so. If we are going to solve this for once and forever, we are going to have to look at the way we deal with each other. What thoughts do you have about doing that? It's one thing to say a syllabus. What on earth should be on it?
So in the first instance, it's going to be the seeds of change that we sow. So if we get into primary schools and we give children the opportunity to actually learn from their teachers, who obviously they have a good relationship with, and they have the best access to kind of that trust level in which the children will trust the teachers, we should start teaching them about equity and equality for all. So while we're looking at different items of race, as we were in the summer, and now we're looking at obviously the women's equity, women's equality, it becomes really important to actually view all people like that. So some of the work towards gender equality was done in the summer, but now we need to be a bit more explicit with it. We do this around Prevent Framework with teachers. We do this around FGM with teachers. We do it with safeguarding, sexual exploitation. So it would be another items for staff to be aware of, and obviously more resources for children to be able to access at their level, so to speak.
So are we acknowledging here then that these issues that women have with the way men treat them are hardwired in from our days at school? It's not something, it's not learnt behaviour when we're off down the pub when we're 18 or whatever. It starts in the playground.
You ask a really, really good question, and if you speak to any social psychologists, they'll tell you that this has really proliferated over the last 30 years with the introduction in many places of all the access to television, and then further to that with the internet and what comes in the last 20 years. Some of that, the research that's coming out of it is very harrowing, but yes, it's the society in general and some of the systems that we have around it are very patriarchal. So when you're talking about men of a certain generation, plus 50, etc., there's one way of that kind of manifesting itself. When you look at men of plus 30, there's another way of manifesting itself, and sadly, with teenagers and even in primary schools, it manifests itself as well with regards to what they see modeled to them, what they can hear, what they can see on Instagram, what can be done on Fortnite. All of it has an influence. I'm not blaming any one thing in particular. I'm just talking about the general climate towards the patriarchy.
I'm sure you can imagine we get thousands of texts every day to this programme, and they reflect all manner of opinion. But one which male texters return to quite a lot is that they will point out that this is the actions of a rogue male. There will always be rogue males, and the majority of men are hardwired to respect women. Do we have to question that now? We may think we respect women, but for example, the other day we were talking about this idea that if you were walking down the pavement and a single woman was heading towards you, cross over. That's something I'd not thought through before now. So it's never too late to learn, and there are always things to learn, Leon.
Oh, completely. But with 100% agree with that statement. It isn't the majority of men by any stretch of the imagination, but you only need it to be 0.1%. And then you've got tens of thousands of women who have bad experiences. That's just the way it is. And also you have to look at England. Actually, we are better generally than some other places in the world. And I can say that firsthand. People will not leave in certain countries after dark at all, regardless of a headphone in or whatever else. So there is a base that we can expect from males in this country, but also there is a base being provided by males in this country, because everyone is a brother, a brother to a lady. Everyone is a son. Everyone is a father. There's so much that is already built into us. However, we do have to take firmer precautions with actually being able to teach these people. And the warning that's coming from social psychology says this is going to get worse because of things like the proliferation of porn, because of the soft porn industry, because of so many different aspects and items around it. It's a ticking time bomb to social psychologists. We're just not seeing that yet.
So just to end this section of the discussion, when you look at a man who's capable of domestic violence, the temptation is to say, well, that a bad un's always a bad, and he would have had that in him. But what we're saying here, and this is the hope for the future, is that at a young age that can be potentially educated out of a man.
Yes, very much so, because you always have the opportunity to break the cycle. And in the school where I was a head teacher, we dealt with students who you'd regard as disadvantaged or excluded for one reason or another. And when you go back into some of the family history, you see some of the reasons. Now, you can always kind of talk to them to a point out of it, but it's not something that's ingrained within you forever. The way the brain works is it can be retrained and it can be reset. Obviously, it can be unreset, but you can make those changes. The worrying thing overall, really, is that now people are starting to see perverse behaviour come from people that have no historic background of abuse or difficulties themselves, and that's really the worrying thing. The view that some young males have of how they can treat and act towards women is really coming from sources that you would not like it to be coming from. And because sexual education isn't something that people are very open to talking about with regards to their parenting or even in schools, it becomes actually something that the internet has free hand on teaching them. I just use that term loosely, obviously. So that's where getting into primary schools to actually show that what you're actually researching, accessing here is dangerous, wrong, and demeaning X, Y, Z. It's a really, really good start.
And you make the point there that it's not just the responsibility of schools as well. One imagines, listening to what you're having to say, to parents need to have perhaps uncomfortable conversations with their children as well. Leon, look, good to talk to you. Thank you.